Now let's get into episode 214. What is happening, TwT fans? It is so good to be back on this May 9th, 2024, and as always, it is so exciting to see so many of you coming back for more. Before I get into anything today, let me start out the way I always do by saying thank you to all of my subscribers. You are what keeps me coming back here week after week. Of course, if you're new, stopping by, or you got sent the link tree, and you're checking out the podcast for the first time, make sure you're hitting that subscribe button, all right? Of course, if you want your opportunity to be a guest or tell your story, or maybe there's a story that needs to be heard, talkinwithtopher at gmail.com. That's talkinwithtopher at gmail.com, the official email of the podcast. Make sure you send an audio, video, or type it out. And that's also where you can put in for the shirts. That's right, we got merch, and I keep forgetting to mention it. So, T-shirts available, sizes, colors, limited. But if you want them, go ahead and send an email over to talkinwithtopher at gmail.com. And then, of course, don't forget about the link tree. It's in the description below the video. Go ahead and click that. You'll find everything TwT, all social platforms. Everything's there. Follow, subscribe, and, of course, copy and share that with everyone you know, and hopefully they'll like it as much as you do. And as you can see, my monitor is still glitching, but we're still moving forward. All right. And now with all that out of the way, I think we're going to cut to the chase on this podcast today. I am limited for time, but we're going to have some fun. And before we do that, we're going to take a quick break so you can hear from my sponsor. This May, Slow Down Clothing is your one-stop shop for all the latest tattoo-inspired styles. At slowdownclothing.bigcartel.com, we offer a wide range of products to keep you stylish all year round. And here's the best part. When you use the promo code TOPHER at checkout, you'll get an extra 10% off your entire purchase. That's right. You can save big while adding some fabulous pieces to your wardrobe. Our collection is always expanding with fresh new styles, so you'll never run out of options to express your style. Looking for unique t-shirts that make a statement? We've got you covered with our tattooed-inspired designs. And don't forget, we also have a great selection of kids' clothes for the little ones, along with the skateboard gear for all the skaters out there. Ladies, we've got you covered too. Check out our trendy leggings that will elevate your everyday look. And for all the seasons out there, we have something for all of them. That's right. Whether you need a cozy winter wear, fresh spring styles, or breezy summer outfit, Slow Down Clothing has it all. So don't miss out on the chance to elevate your wardrobe with Slow Down Clothing. Visit slowdownclothing.bigcartel.com today. And don't forget to use the promo code TOPHER for that exclusive 10% discount off your entire purchase. Slow down, shop smart, and stay stylish with Slow Down Clothing. All right, well, I am back, everybody, and that was a quick break, and we're going to get into Topher's topics today, and I've got some stuff that I really wanted to get into this morning, but they have right now a new first confirmed case of rare tick-borne Powassan virus reported in Massachusetts town, everybody. So as you can see, if you can see it, I'll try to make it a little bit bigger for you, but this is the new tick. Yeah, kind of creepy looking, huh? I guess it's more resilient, and we're going to read a little bit into this. But for the first time, a confirmed case of Powassan virus has been reported in Sharon, and public health officials are warning residents to take precautions against the tick-borne disease. Powassan virus, as Lyme disease, is transmitted through infected ticks. While Powassan virus is still rare, the number of reported cases of the people becoming ill from the virus has increased in recent years. In the United States, cases of Powassan virus disease have been reported primarily from northern eastern states, and the Great Lakes regions, according to Centers of Disease Control Prevention. These cases occur primarily in late spring, early summer, and mid-fall with ticks when the ticks are most active. So we got a picture of a tick right here. And so the symptoms of the disease usually begin between 1 week and 1 month after the bite. Oof, that is not a good timeline. Signs and symptoms include fever, headache, vomiting, weakness, confusion, loss of coordination, speech difficulties, and seizures. Oh, maybe I have Powassan disease then, because I've been feeling that way all day. According to the CDC, there are no medications to prevent or treat it. Antibiotics do not treat this virus. Rest fluids and over-the-counter pain medications may relieve some symptoms, according to the public health officials. People with severe disease often need to be hospitalized to receive support for breathing, staying hydrated, or reducing swelling of the brain. The Massachusetts Department of Health offered the following tips for residents to prevent contracting the virus, especially when residents are outside in an area likely to have ticks, such as brush, wooden, or grassy places. Oh, man, this is crazy, huh? So could this be something that was designed, right? Because wasn't, if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure Lyme disease was a weapon. And who's to say that this is not on the same basis where Lyme disease came from, right? It's kind of crazy to think that some of the things in the viruses and the problems that we have today have been curated by people in charge, by people who are supposed to have our best interests at mind. And when you really start digging into things, you start realizing that the reason that they act as if, they can save us is because they've created the problem that is in front of us. And now they're the ones with the solution. So we're supposed to look at them like they're better than. And I believe that this is another curated type of virus to once again scare us, put us at, on the edge, and to help them get their narrative to where it needs to be, which is they will be able to help us as long as we follow all of their rules. And the more that this keeps happening, the more businesses close down, the more AI takes over, the more humanoids become realistic, the more you realize that this is becoming truer and truer across everything we're doing today. So even though there's, this new virus that is becoming more prominent, is it replacing Lyme disease? Is it becoming the more prominent one? Are these ticks stronger, better, more resilient to all the things that we finally could fight against Lyme disease? Is this another step for them to push us in the direction that they want us to push us in? I have these questions because I don't believe that these things just naturally occur anymore. Everything being designed in labs, mosquitoes with numbers on them, and you've got ticks with Lyme disease that was curated for basically a weapon. And all these things can be used as weapons, because what they want to do with the weapon is push us in the direction to feed into their narrative so that they will be the ones to show us how we can survive this. But I don't even understand how all these new things could be occurring. But it's like super staff, right? Super staff is very dangerous. It has no, you can't break it down with an antibiotic. It is because of our antibiotics that we have a super staff now. So is this something that was caused because the Lyme disease changed and now it's this new thing, or was this new thing created and put into these ticks and slowly spread? But be cautious, and if you're out there and you got grass, you got deer in your yard, anything like that, when you're out there mowing your lawn and doing your yard work and everything else, make sure you are checking yourself for ticks. I have been into Fallout. Fallout show was amazing. I watched all 8 episodes now. I'm all caught up. I'm waiting for season 2. It won't be coming out until 2026. I do not play video games, so I wanted to see where everybody else was. Because there's a lot of you out there that play video games. You're very knowledgeable of the game, the world, and where everything is going and how it's supposed to be. And of course, so the show didn't stick with the video game so much. But the best part about this show was that you don't need to know anything about the video game to enjoy the show. And actually, I thought it was really well done. But I saw this Fallout. Fallout. 5 inconsistencies in the TV series. Amazon's Fallout series is doing well, but that doesn't mean it didn't come with a few inconsistencies that set it apart from the video games. So what we're looking at here is we're looking at what the fuck do they call these things? A ghoul, which is I can't remember the actor's name, but he used to play Boyd in Justified. This here is one of those cores that gives the knights their power suit. And then they're showing a map over here where supposedly Vault 13 is, the Brotherhood, Junktown Hub, Necropolis. This is where Shady Sand. So I'm not sure of the inconsistencies. Let's see here. The Fallout series has been lauded for its attention to detail. Fans, both old and new alike, have pointed out how faithful the show is when it comes to costumes and props, but it also had garnered praise for its commitment to Fallout's core themes and tones. It's in more ways than one. Amazon's Fallout series is a triumph for the video game live-action adaptations and similar vein to HBO's The Last of Us series. So, are squires no longer only children? While Fallout show designates fully grown adults as squires for their powered armor knight superiors, the conflicts with the prior established lore indicates this rank was reserved for children only. Okay. Huh. Well, I mean, that would not have made sense for the show because the bag would have been larger than the children. So how would they be able to carry those? I mean, I think they did right by the show by not having it be children, and it was probably more politically correct too, right? The video game, you don't have to be politically correct in a video game. It's a video game. But when you're making a show, people will be like, hey, that's child labor. Like, you know what I mean? There's gonna be some backlash for that. So I can understand why they wouldn't do that part of it. A new prevention measure against going feral. Throughout the course of the show, Cooper Howard is seen, that's his name, is seen taking hits from a sort of inhaler, eventually revealed as the drug seems to slow, override, prevent progression of mental instability in ghouls. Feral ghouls are ghouls that have long since lost their ability to reason and have been reduced to nothing more than simple-minded aggression. Interesting. Huh. I'll try not to read anything that has to do with the actual show and what happened, so I don't want to have any spoiler alerts. No longer a limited power source. Huh. One of the main limitations of power armor in Fallout 4 is that it needs to constantly be topped off with fresh fusion cores to remain functional. Within extra cores, any suit of power armor has roughly 20 real-world minutes, roughly equivalent to 10 hours in game time, for usage before shutting down. In Amazon's Fallout season, fusion cores seem to last indefinitely. Okay, well, I mean, is that really a big deal? Is it? So I don't think that's really that big of a deal. Oh, this is well, I'm not gonna say, but this is we saw this city. Oh, cool. New Vegas and its surrounding area. An important location seems to be missing. Is McCarran Airport, or Camp McCarran as it is known in the game. The commercial airport turned military base for the NCR seems to be completely absent from this vista. This may very well just be an artistic error, or perhaps it's simply not visible from this angle. Okay, so I guess when you look at this, you're supposed to see an airport and you don't. And last but not least, Shady Sands is in the wrong place, the most significant inconsistency in the series thus far. So they have it over here by Vault 13, in between Vault 13 and 15, which is weird because we went to Vault 14. I don't even see it. So where were we when we went to Vault 14? Not a big deal for me. Since this location cannot be in two different places simultaneously, squaring the show's canonicity with the game's necessities, clearing up the glaring inconsistency in some fashion, or treating the show as a secondary canon to the games altogether. This is because of how severely this may affect the stories of the original two Fallout games, as well as New York Vegas to a smaller degree. Shady Sands is generally over 100 miles north of Los Angeles Boneyard, in the desert between Vault 13 and 15. In the Amazon series, however, it is erroneously portrayed as being within Los Angeles itself, effectively combining the two locations. Oh, so I guess technically it's supposed to be here, but they actually have it being within Los Angeles itself. Well, I mean, you guys, it's kind of like a book, right? Isn't it? Isn't it kind of like a book where they can't do everything in a book in a movie? So you can't do everything in a video game in a show. So even though there's some inconsistencies, I don't think they're that great. And me being a non-video gamer, I think that this was done extremely well. It was, I mean, the show had me just locked in the entire time. And when it ended, I was just like, I need season 2 and I need it now. But, you know, I've played the Fallout Shelter on my phone. I've definitely talked to Tyler about Fallout in general. And I have to say that if those are the only inconsistencies, that's really not that bad. It's really not that bad. But to, I guess, have a city that was destroyed in the middle of a city that possibly they're going to, I could see how that would be a pretty bad inconsistency, where the rest of them just seem minute and they seem like they had to be written in this way to make the show make sense. Even though when you're watching it, you're like, I have to recharge that every time. You know what I mean? So I don't know. People say this all the time about movies. When I read the book and the book was nothing like the movie, and it's like, yeah, I can see that, but you can't hold it against them. It was a great show, and if you don't play the video game, I suggest checking it out, because you don't need to know anything about the video game in order to watch this show. And it's just really kind of, I don't know if it's eye-opening, but it was really interesting to watch what could actually happen if atomic bombs were actually dropped. You know, a lot more people would survive than I thought. And, I mean, the one question I have, and I don't know if this is a spoiler or not, probably not for any of you that play the video game that know the storyline, but how did they figure out? Well, you know what? If you don't want to hear this part, spoiler alert, I guess. How is it possible that all these people are over 200 years old? How did they beat death without becoming a ghoul? And if they did become ghouls and they didn't tell us this, then how did they keep from decomposing? Because the one thing I've noticed about a ghoul is that they start decomposing every time they have to regenerate. But then again, there was another part where somebody broke a foot and then they got injected with something, it healed, but then they became a ghoul. So what is that? These are still some of the questions that I have. Again, not important, but curious. Just very curious to understand this world that now I'm, chomping at the bit to watch the second season. But I've read into it a little bit now that I finished the season, and it seems like summer, maybe spring of 2026 is when we should see that. And supposedly everything has been locked in. The season is a go, and they are getting ready to record, I believe. So really, really cool show, man. I loved it. Now, let's get into what is going on with everybody driving into buildings, because this is the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life. And it's not just this one. Truck slams through side of Brockton liquor store. So you can see the truck here. Let me resize this for you all. You can see the truck here just drove right into a liquor store. You're like, what? How? Right? And so the crash occurred around 5 p.m. It was an SUV. Driver traveling south. Attempt to avoid another vehicle, lost control, and smashed into a building. And then you go over to here. This one is insane. A car drives into a smoker's haven in Manchester. So let's check this out real quick.
Wow, that crash just takes your breath away for a moment. That crash you just heard is a car going into a building in Manchester. That surveillance video you're looking at in
That's
the right
crazy.
right side of your corner, if you look, that is Smoker's Haven in Manchester, and it shows a car going straight through the front of the store. Incredibly, the Manchester Fire Department says no one was hurt. 2 people were inside that car at the time, but both of them refused to be treated. There were also 2 employees inside at the time as well.
Yeah, so I was just shopping, looking around at some of the different products they have. Then all of a sudden I heard a loud crash, and then a car came through. Then there's glass everywhere.
Okay, so it's the one over by the hospital. All right, that's where it's at. Okay, so it's not the one on South Willow. Interesting.
And the front gate went across, and I was kind of just in shock at first. It's not something you expect every day to see.
We're still waiting to hear back from the Manchester Police Department on what led up to that.
Oh, wow. That used to be an old Dunkin' Donuts. Yep. That's the one that became that's the one that was an old Dunkin' Donuts that they turned into a Smoker's Haven recently. But this one here is 2 children dead, 15 people injured after a vehicle crashes into a building holding a child's birthday. I mean, there's so many of these. And 15 people are injured after a woman drove her car into a child's birthday party. The press conference Saturday. The 2 children were pronounced dead at the scene. They were siblings, an 8-year-old and a 5-year-old. Oh, so awful. Around 3 p.m., a woman drove her vehicle through the wall of the Swan Boat Club in Monroe County, Michigan. coming to a stop 25 feet inside. Jesus Christ, you were moving quick. First responders rendered aid to the 15 victims. 9 were transported to local hospitals, either by ambulance or helicopter. Everything was life-threatening. Jesus Christ. The 66-year-old suspect was arrested at the scene for suspicion of operating a vehicle while intoxicated, causing death, and is currently being held at Monroe County Jail. Jesus Christ. I just want to know, man, what is going on? What is happening right now? Why are there so many people driving through buildings, going off-road, or how about this one right here? This is absolutely wild how airborne this vehicle gets. It's insane.
In Brockton, stop what you're doing and look at your screen. New video
Look at this.
shows the moment a pickup truck goes airborne before hitting a building and landing on top of several vehicles.
I don't know if you can see it, but
news reporter Joanna Burris is live in
right
Brockton
there
tonight, where Joanna, the driver, is still nowhere to be found. They took off.
What?
Brockton police say they're still looking for that driver who first hit a fire hydrant, then crashed into this home before going airborne, flipping and landing on these 3 vehicles. And a business up the street caught it all on camera.
Security footage captures a silver pickup truck driving south on Montello Street in Brockton early this morning. The car appears to turn, then launch into the air and flip over. Amanda Bastian's father owns several auto shops up the street and caught the crash on camera.
I just pray that, the people there, that they're safe, that they're okay, and that they figure out who did it, what happened, and why.
Brockton police say the driver of a silver Ford Ranger lost control, hit a hydrant, then a house, before landing on top of these 3 cars. They say the owner of the truck was...
Unless the driver of this truck actually has it registered and everything else, I mean, they're going to pull the VIN, but they're just going to go and talk to the person that it's attached to. That is insane. Look at, it's on top of 3 cars, everybody. And all 3 cars are smashed to shit. And that's a QX50. That's so sad. The Ranger I don't care about, or the van, but that Infiniti, that's just sad.
Wasn't driving when this happened.
We're lucky that nobody was injured. We wish the driver would have stayed on the scene. When the officers arrived, some of the people who were on the scene said, "We saw him running. We saw him running."
Philippi Alves says the damaged cars belong to his family. Looking at shattered glass and mangled car parts, he talks to us through an interpreter.
It's really bad. It's really bad. The situation is really bad. It's just not his car, it's his son and his brother, all 3 cars.
Security footage then shows multiple people running around after the wreck before taking off up the street. One man who lives nearby says his surveillance cameras caught first responders on the scene. Now many neighbors are wondering what led up to this.
Was he distracted? Was he under the influence? Like, what happened?
Wow.
Alf says when it comes to these damaged cars, he's waiting to hear back from his insurance company. Again, Brockton police say they don't have anyone in custody or a suspect, so they're asking if anyone knows where the driver could be to call them.
Wow. Wow, everybody. That is absolutely insane. And I hate to say this, but I don't think insurance is going to pay out for this at all. I will say that insurance is the biggest scam we all pay into. It is the biggest scam out there. Health insurance, auto insurance, house insurance, flood insurance, all the insurances it's a scam. It's all a scam. It always has been a scam. It will always continue to be a scam. Why? Because they don't want to pay. We pay in. We have to pay in when we get a loan. You have to sign up for insurance. You have to have housing insurance in order to get a housing loan. You have to have auto insurance in order to buy a new car. You have to have all of these things. You have to have. And then as soon as you need them to pay out or do something after you've paid him for years, what do we have to do out there to make sure that the insurance companies that we're paying into actually uphold their end of the bargain? I don't think there's anything we can do. I think we have been built into a scam that we can't get out of. And it's really sad because I bet you 10 to 1, they're not going to take care of any of those cars because why? Why should they? There's no driver to pinpoint. And that means that when they put in the claim for those cars through their insurance, they have to put it in as if they did it. And then their rates are going to go up. Their insurance company could choose to drop them. And then the insurance company can also turn around and be like, well, sorry, no, we're not paying out for this. So it just sucks. And I don't think enough of us say it today that insurance is just the biggest scam that we are all a part of. And we have no way to get out of it because they say we need it for every purchase that we make out there. And it sucks. You know, this is just a sad story with all these people driving in the buildings and everything else. It's chaos out there, and I don't understand it. And this right now ties into what's happening on the roads is that everybody is driving like crazy. They're crazy. Speed limits don't exist. Stop signs don't exist. Yields don't exist. Nobody's paying attention. We're all crashing into buildings. And now they've caught 21 drivers that were clocked Wednesday, just on a Wednesday, traveling at least 90 miles an hour on New Hampshire highways. So they have arrested 116 people doing 100 to 109 miles an hour, and they've arrested 10 people doing 110 to 120 miles an hour. And there was a mother recently arrested after driving more than 100 miles an hour on Route 101 with 2 unbuckled kids in the SUV, state police say. This is crazy.
It's very troubling.
High speeds, aggressive driving, and just problems, especially in that area of I-93, where speeding is just becoming out of control.
In just 3 hours, 56 drivers ticketed, 21 of them clocked at more than 90 miles an hour, and 7 of them more than 100 during a state police traffic operation. State police say this is just a brief snapshot of an even bigger problem, both state and nationwide.
Yep.
We've got to get people to slow down. We want people to get home to their families. We want them to get home to their friends.
In the last year, the New Hampshire Department of Safety and DMV say 116 people were given tickets for driving between 100 and 109 miles an hour, and 10 people were ticketed for driving between 110 and 120 miles an hour. Thomas Barrett with AAA New England says this problem has only gotten worse.
The result of this also is meaning more severe crashes, more injuries, fatalities, because that all comes together. Speeding is an aggressive driving behavior. And since the COVID, we saw a huge spike in aggressive driving back in 2019. It just has not really subsided all that much.
State police is going to be out there. We are going to be enforcing the law.
Yeah, so they're out there. They're going to be enforcing the law. Doesn't matter what caused the accident. The simple fact is the accidents are increasing. So her toddler heard monsters in the wall. Turns out the noise was more than 50,000 bees that produced 100 pounds of honeycomb. That's a bonus. That's an absolute bonus. That is wild. After sharing, her toddler was hearing a monster in her bedroom walls. Turns out the noise was actually a colony of more than 50,000 bees. Ashley Class shared on TikTok that her daughter was scared of monsters in Charlotte, North Carolina house, which is more than 100 years old. The 3-year-old who had just seen the Disney and Pixar film Monsters Incorporated was insistent about the monsters in her wall. We have even gave her a bottle of water and said it was a monster spray so that she could spray away. But soon, Class noticed bees swarming near her attic chimney and thought her daughter might be on something. They called pest control using a thermal camera. That's the picture I can't find. They realized there was a colony of bees behind her wall. So is there a picture of that? All right, so I found it. This is the video of the wall after they listened to their daughter saying that there was monsters in the wall. Here we go. So my daughter heard monsters in her bedroom wall. The truth was even scarier. Look at the amount of bees. The unbelievable horror story has TikTok buzzing with millions. Turns out it was 50,000 bees buzzing after a mom named Ashley found a swarm of honeybees living in the wall. I would honestly rather have monsters in the wall than 50,000 bees. While some compared it to the 1992 Candyman, oh, dude, that movie was crazy. It's the latest freaky find in the wall to go viral on TikTok from grenades. The piles of empty rum bottles. Yeah, I saw that video. That's crazy. People just bury things in the wall, man. You never know what nightmare could be hiding just outside, out of sight. So they only give you a 360 pixel, and of course that's a shit video. But as you could see, that was the bees in the wall, that red glow with the purple. I don't know if you've ever taken a thermal of your house to find out whether or not you have air leaking in through your windows and stuff, but all the cold areas would get darker and darker, more purple as it gets colder and colder as you find the air. And then, of course, the warmness is, something living or hot pipes or, a furnace and stuff like that. So seeing those and understanding how thermal works, it's pretty interesting that they had 50,000 bees in a wall coming down from the chimney, and then they had all that honeycomb. So, I mean, once you get the bees out of the way, right, you gotta relocate them. They can't live in the house. They can't live in a wall. But hopefully they got to keep all that honey, because that, I would be jarring that stuff up. That stuff is so expensive today. But I thought it was funny that the girl thought it was monster, and turns out it's just bees. What do you think that sound was, right? The buzzing of a hive. Now imagine that inside your wall. That must have been some type of buzzing. You know what I mean? That's crazy. Crazy. So let's see. This one here was actually sent to me, and I thought it was really neat. I don't know if you have ever watched The Simpsons, but if you have, you will understand this. So, The Simpsons, it took me 27 years to realize this about The Simpsons.
27 years to realize this about The Simpsons. So we all watched The Simpsons growing up. But didn't you ever realize something odd about the show? Like, how come this show is currently on its 35th season, and we have never seen any of these characters grow up or age? Why? As it turns out, there is a reasonable explanation for this, and you won't like the answer. In Season 4, Episode 3, Homer talks with God. At the end of the episode, Homer asks God about the meaning of life. God answers, "You will find that out once you die," and Homer says that he can't wait that long. To which God replies, "You can't wait 6 months?" And 6 months later, Bart wanted to prank Homer with an explosive beer can, and the entire house explodes. From this moment on, Homer has been in a coma. So Homer never woke up from this coma, and the entire story of The Simpsons is happening inside his head. God told him he would die, and it happened exactly as he said. And this is why nobody ages in the show.
What? I mean, is it not just a simple fact that it's a cartoon? And in cartoons, things don't have to make sense. Characters do not have to age. And again, it's a cartoon, everybody. Putting way too much thought into this. But what if that was true, right? The whole entire time that we've been watching, because I've watched every single episode since the day it aired all the way up until today. I still watch The Simpsons. I watch Family Guy. I watch all of them. My favorite part about all of them is that they're cartoons. I'm an adult child who loves cartoons, and if the characters got old and died and actually aged and things that happen actually stayed, it would be not as much fun as it is to watch. But my favorite part about a cartoon is that a character can get completely annihilated and then just come back. So I thought this was just humorous because I thought it was way too much thought for a cartoon. But at the same time, could be very plausible if we were watching the show through Homer's brain while he was in a coma. But that means he's been in a coma for 30 years, right? Because it's on its 36th season, and this happened in season 5 or 6. So you're talking 30 years we've just been watching Homer's brain tell us the story. It's interesting. It's fun, so I don't know. Could be true. Could be fake. But this also could be fake or be true. Check this out. But this is a map of flat Earth. Now, I find it to be interesting because this is showing the actual ice walls and these gates that can lead you to more of the world than what we're told we're living in. And my most intriguing part about it is that certain areas that supposedly have gone underwater and we can't reach or find anymore are not even located anywhere near where we're looking. They're beyond the ice wall. So I'll play the rest of it and try to talk you through it. We are looking at where we all live today. There's North America, the Atlantic Ocean, the Pacific Ocean, and then you get it over to here and you got the Serpent's Gate. So the Serpent's Gate leads you out into this section, right? And then you have a Tiger's Gate, the Hathonorian Sea or Ocean. If you go down here where they're showing us, look at, they got another ring. You got Aurora. You got the Mountains of Kong. Atlantis, the sinking empire. So this is saying it's still above ground. There was another gate right there. Amun-Ra and the Birthfrost, First Empire. So supposedly all these places that don't exist anymore still exist on the outside of the wall. Look at all these land masses. I mean, there's so many. So if this is to be true, right? If this is to be true, then there is so much more to our planet than they're telling us. I mean, look at all these land masses that supposedly are beyond the ice wall where we're all trapped in. And then there's another ice wall. And then there's more. So it's not that I believe that Earth is flat. It's just that I find it intriguing that our questions about places that don't exist anymore may be answered because there's more than what we're just being told there is. I don't know. I really doubt that it is, but I thank Magilla for sending me these things. I am looking forward to sitting down with him and discussing this more so that I can be informed on, I want to know what they know. I want to know what they don't know, what they question, what they think is real, what they think is not real, right? I want to understand all of this because sometimes understanding the opposite of what you know helps you understand what you know better, I think. I think it opens up great dialogue. I think it just grows in so many different ways. It helps you grow. It helps them grow. Sticking to one thing and just saying that it is what it is without asking questions or looking into it, well, you're just as bad, if not worse, than the people that are trying to push this narrative onto you and say that it's the truth, right? You have to be able to find these things out for yourself. But imagine that. Imagine if Atlantis is still above water and it's just somewhere we haven't been able to get to because we can't get around the ice wall, right? Can you fly over the ice wall? How tall is it, right? Is it as tall as the glacier that's melting on the Atlantic or the Arctic? So that means you can fly over it, right? So how have we never flown over these things? How is there no video of anybody flying any further than what we know. So it opens up so many more questions for me. So all the governments know that there's something beyond the ice wall. There's more land out there, and none of them want it. We're just going to keep fighting over the land that we know about. That's why I start questioning this more, because it's like, well, that sounds really far-fetched, right? That our leaders do not want to go and take over these lands and push democracy on people or invade them and just take it from them. You know, if Atlantis was really here, don't you think our government would be all over that? Man, I can't wait to sit Miguel down and pick his brain, because I think it's going to help get some answers. It's fun. It's just fun. And that's what I'm all about. On that note, think about it. Look into things, question everything, and don't believe anything if they tell you that it's the truth in the way it's supposed to be. Look at it again, because they're just feeding you something that could be an absolute and complete lie. I mean, it's so wild to think about and so much fun. I want to thank everybody, as always, for subscribing, watching, and giving all the comments and the thumbs ups. It tremendously helps, and I thank all of you. If you're new to the podcast, remember to hit that subscribe button. All right, it's very important you hit that. It's what keeps me coming back week after week. And then, of course, if you want your opportunity to be a guest, tell your story. Maybe there's a story that needs to be heard, or you want to get some Talking with Topher merch, TALKIN with Topher at gmail.com. That's the official email of the podcast. Send an audio, video, or type it out, but you got to send it over to the official email of the podcast, TALKIN with Topher at gmail.com. Don't forget about the link tree. It's in the description below the video. Click on it. It gives you access to everything TWT. It's just that easy. And of course, now you can share it with everybody you know just by copying it and sharing it. All right, get it out there. Help me make this thing bigger. I appreciate everybody who already has. And I just hope everybody out there enjoys the rest of your Thursday. And of course, enjoy the weekend. All right, hopefully it's going to be a nice one and this rain will go away, but Mother Nature is not letting that happen right now. So I hope you all enjoy your weekend, and as always, I will talk to you later.